Hey, what's up? This is Scott with Level Up Tutorials, and today I'm bringing you a Scott tries of a different type where I'm going to be trying out something that is really mind-blowing to me. I'm a big fan of container queries within CSS. Now, these have not hit yet, and if you haven't been paying attention, you might not have even noticed that they actually dropped in Chrome Canary behind a flag, meaning that if you enable this flag, you can test out the syntax in a native context in a browser, largely thanks to the amazing work of Miriam Suzanne, who is just a CSS wizard from day one. So I am so excited for container queries. I cannot possibly express. I'll talk a little bit more about that why. This isn't a full-on tutorial. This is more of a first look. But when Miriam had tweeted out about the spec that she had been working on for container queries, Jonathan Neal, he's created a ton of stuff from post CSS process env or preset env, which is like kind of like the Babel for post CSS to get your CSS to, be able to use tomorrow's features today, but also sanitized CSS, which is existed forever and ever and ever. He's just been responsible for so many amazing projects over the years, including the HTML5 shiv, which those of you who ever had to use it know that there was a brief period of time where you had to drop the HTML5 shiv in literally every project you did. So Jonathan Neal has been at it for quite some time doing really amazing work, and he just kind of slightly tweeted at me this CQ fill, which is the container query polyfill. Did you hear that? Yeah, polyfill for container queries. And I say this as the initial commit, I believe, for this thing was like 16 hours ago at the time of recording this. So hot off the presses, folks. Now, container queries, what are they? Well, let me illustrate to you container queries. So here we have this code pen, and Jonathan put this together. I don't know when or where or how, but just to illustrate the basically what a container query is. So typically in the past, we've had a media query, right? You know, a media query, the thing that we use to do responsive design. Well, that's based off of the browser's viewport. And we all know that as time has moved on here, we have become a more componentized world for developers. Everything we do is about components nowadays, right? And unfortunately, that means sometimes when we're trying to style components that have a max width and then they change based in this context versus this context, we're left with a void here where you're having to make 1,000 breakpoints to handle this thing at this, when it could really be solved with an element query or a container query that allows you to style based on an element's boundaries rather than the viewport's boundaries. If that doesn't make sense to you based on that explanation, check out this. Here is an example where we have a card inside of, we have an image, a headline, paragraph text, and watch. As this card grows, the layout completely shifts. And this actually is even changing the flex direction. You can see it's kind of changing it from row to column. And as we make this change, it even changes further, right? And this is container queries. Notice how this does not have necessarily that much to do with the size of the browser window, right? The browser window can change, but it's not until the browser window shrinks and grows this div that it's going to make a difference. And in fact, this won't even do that considering this has an explicit width. So check it out. This is really container queries. Now, what I wanted to do in this video is to do a first look, a unboxing, a deep dive, any of those buzzwords, right? To show you how this thing works in action. And so to do so, I have the CQ fill here. And instead of installing it via NPM, I'm going to just use this unpackaged version. Now, I'm going to be doing this on the Level Up Tutorials website. This is just the UI. You can see it's telling me that the API cannot be found. That's just because this is just the UI. It's okay. We don't need any data for this. In fact, if I want to make this really nice and simple, I'm going to actually comment out our React loading script. Let me even get rid of that. I'm going to comment out the div and the app root, so we don't need that. And I can largely comment out these scripts too, just to get rid of them. I want to get rid of the scripts anyways, but here we are. Here's our blank page. Now I'm going to deal with some straight up HTML here. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to come down here, and we're going to create a new, we'll say this a container. The name of this does not matter. And then we're going to say .box inside of here. So we have a box inside of a container.
And likewise, I'm going to apply some CSS here. I'm going to do this CSS just inline here, just so we can have this all in one spot. Again, this is just me goofing off, trying some stuff. And we're going to say container. You are going to get some properties here. In fact, I would like to maybe copy some stuff from Jonathan Neal's example here. For instance, let me copy this stuff here, and at least I'll delete what I don't need. But so we have this container div. In the container div, yeah, I guess all this stuff works. I don't need anything extra from here, but this contain property might be the most confusing one for you. This is not a CSS container queries tutorial series. The contain property is kind of intricate, so you want to head on to MDN docs and look up the CSS property for contain. So to give like a brief explanation, the contain property basically allows you to indicate whether an element and its contents are independent in some ways from the rest of the DOM. And the properties here that we're using for layout and inline size are basically saying that nothing outside of this element may affect its internal layout. Okay, that's what that means. If you don't know why we need that, don't worry. Just know that we need to worry about it. And when we do an official tutorial, once this stuff's done, then I will talk quite a bit more about this. Either way, we have a dot box inside of here. And I'm going to make this box a color. Let's call this, let's do a color blue. Actually, not even a color blue. Let's do a background of blue. I don't know why. Let's do a background of blue. Let's do a height of something like 100 pixels and a width of 100 pixels. Quick and dirty, definitely right here. Okay, so we have this box. We have it CSS, and by default, this isn't going to look like anything fancy. If we head to our site, it's a literal box. And we have a draggable here, and we can do something like this. Yep, that's a box, all right. So let's get into some container query action going on here. The first thing we need to do, first and foremost, is add the polyfill. So I'm going to use this unpackage script link, and I'm going to put this in. I don't normally do this for scripts, but again, I just want this to work. I'm just throwing it at the very top. And likewise, you need this CQ fill function to run, but notice it says after the style sheets have been declared. So I'm going to do this at the very bottom. And in fact, I'll do it right there. CQ fill. There we go. And this should load this up, which means that we should be able to now write some container queries. And now let's go ahead and write our first container query, which the syntax, it's going to complain about an error in here, but it's very, very similar to what you're used to with media queries. So if we say @container, then you could say something like min width of 400 pixels. And then let's go ahead and define the things that we would like to change. So if we would like to change the box, we could say the box background color should now be red. I don't believe this is going to work, because if you were to read the documentation, you would see that, well, you actually need to write some additional fallbacks for your code. In fact, we wrote this one fallback, which was this --CSS -contain variable. But this other fallback is the --CSS -container, not to be confused with --contain. This is not the same variable. If CSS container and min width, then we have a sort of a duplicate here. Now, granted, I understand the duplication of this code, not ideal. That said, this project will soon include a post-CSS plugin. Okay, and that post-CSS plugin is obviously going to do this for you, so you don't have to duplicate any sort of code. So exciting stuff, right? So if we were to say media, and then --CSS let me get this container, I believe, because the other one is contain. In fact, we have .container, we have CSS contain, we have contain as a property, we have CSS container. So sorry about this. And then we need an and in here. So --CSS container and mid width. Here's your fallback. Okay. Let's see if this works. In fact, if I tab over here, we should see red. Show me red. There we go. Red. Check this out. Let me again. Zoop, 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 zoop. And we have CSS container queries in browser with a polyfill right here, right now. No flags checked in my browser. In fact, this is Brave browser, so it's not even Chrome Canary, and we have this. And you might be wondering, well, can you do more stuff than that? Well, hey, you can do whatever you want. It's CSS, right? So if we want to say, make this thing 400 pixels tall, and again, we need to duplicate this code. When this media query goes, go 400 pixels tall, and then zoop, 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 zoop. And what about in transitions, huh? What about transitions? In fact, let's actually do a transition, and I can do what's called this is the lazy transition, where you do all 0.3 seconds ease. Ooh, yeah, that's the laziest transition that ever did exist. And let's see this in action now. Whoop, whoop. This is CSS, people. This is amazing. This is the future of CSS. You're looking at it right here, CSS container queries. So check it out. Follow this repo. Give it a star. I don't know if he's looking for issues or whatever. So don't watch this video if you can't get it working. Like, don't just hop into the issues and be like, I can't get it working. He's working on it. This is brand new. Like I said, 16 hours ago. So give it a try. Don't be a difficult person on GitHub or anything like that, but give it a try and see if this works for you. Pretty amazing. You do need the duplicate code. So you do need this hyphen CSS hyphen contain. You do need both the media query and the container. So post CSS plugin coming soon. Yes. QFill needs to be after just follow the instructions as you see here, and it's going to work for you. So check it out. CSS container queries in browser with a polyfill in 2021. This is the life. So check it out. As always, this is Scott with Level Up Tutorials. If you're interested in premium tutorial content, head on over to leveluptutorials.com, where we have a ton of premium courses. The new courses available every single month from all sorts of stuff on here. You can see there's just absolutely a ton of topics, a new one coming every single month. We have team accounts, we have pro accounts. You sign up for the year, you'll save 25%. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.